The stars were silent, endless, cold, and still. For centuries, humanity had stopped listening. The great wars of the past had left deep scars across every planet. The Terran Defense Fleet was no longer a name people spoke with pride. It was a warning whispered in the dark. Do not wake the giants. Yet, on a quiet night at Outpost Helios 9, buried on the edge of Sol's outer rim, a single technician broke that silence. Her name was Lieutenant Mara Voss, communications officer, assigned to the most boring post in human space. Her days were spent scanning empty signals, lost echoes from forgotten probes. Nothing ever came through. Until that night, a faint pulse flickered on her monitor. At first, she thought it was static, another ghost transmission bouncing off debris fields. But then the computer began to decode the pattern. It wasn't random. It was rhythmic, repeating, structured, a distress code. "Command, this is Helios 9, she said into the mic, trying to keep her voice steady. "We've received a foreign signal. Repeating SOS pattern, non-human origin." The screen showed flickering text in a strange language followed by a translation. "This is the world of Virelia. We are under attack. Our skies burn. Our people die. Anyone who can hear this, help us." Then static swallowed the message. Within minutes, the outpost came alive. Officers rushed in. Alarms blinked. The message had traveled across unimaginable distance, far beyond any mapped sector. No known trade routes, no diplomatic zones. Whoever sent it had not meant for humans to hear. Commander Hale, the outpost's senior officer, stood over Mara's console. "Are we sure it's real?" "Yes, sir. Verified signal strength and pulse code. It's real. And it's old tech, ancient by current galactic standards." Hale frowned. "Then someone's desperate." Back on Earth Command, deep beneath the Atlantic Defense Complex, the signal was reviewed again. The room was filled with officers in dark uniforms, holographic maps glowing before them. Admiral Elias Reyes, a name spoken with both respect and fear, leaned over the table. His voice was calm but carried the weight of command. Origin, Virelia system. Estimated population, 10 billion. Attacked by an unknown species. No alliance markers, no known affiliations. A younger officer asked quietly, "Sir, should we forward it to the Galactic Council?" The room went still. Reyes looked up, his cold gray eyes reflecting the map's light. "The Galactic Council?" he said slowly. "They turned their backs on us a century ago. Let them answer their own cries, but sir, it wasn't meant for us." Reyes straightened. "Maybe not, but it reached us, and that means something." Far across the stars on the dying world of Virelia, the skies were red. Towering cities burned while civilians fled into underground shelters. Alien soldiers shouted in panic as insectoid war machines cut through the streets. Above the chaos, their last satellite transmitted one final ping, the same signal Mara had caught, before exploding into debris. The world was falling, and no one had come, no one. Yet, back at Earth Command, a heated debate filled the War Council chamber. "Admiral, we can't risk another entanglement," said General Lorne. "The fleet is on reserve status. We promised the colonies no more wars." Reyes stared at him. "And how long do we keep that promise, General? Until someone else decides we're weak? You think hiding behind silence makes us safe?" He turned toward the hologram showing the SOS waveform still pulsing faintly in blue light. "That voice is calling for help. I don't care if it's human, alien, or machine, and someone's dying out there." He paused, then gave the order that would echo across history. "Mobilize the Terran fleet." Across dozens of hidden hangars, lights flickered to life. Gigantic engines, cold for decades, began to hum. Massive ships, armored like mountains and older than most nations, started waking from sleep. The air filled with the deep thunder of power reactors recharging. In the orbital dockyards above Titan, crews ran across metal bridges, unlocking sealed weapons bays. The insignia of the Terran Phoenix, long forgotten, gleamed once again on the ship's hulls. Captain Mara Voss stood on the bridge of the TNS Vanguard, staring at the stars. She couldn't believe she was part of this. "Last time we moved the fleet," said the helmsman softly. "The galaxy called us monsters," Mara replied quietly. "Maybe it's time they remember why." Hours later, Admiral Reyes entered the command bridge of his flagship, the TNS Leviathan, the largest warship ever built by human hands. Its dark steel hull stretched for kilometers, lined with weapons that could break a moon apart. Fleet status? Reyes asked. All ships online. FTL drive stable. Awaiting coordinates, he looked at the map at the lonely star blinking red. Set course for Varelia system. Maximum speed. Sir, that's uncharted space. We have no beacons, no navigation paths. Reyes smiled faintly. Then we'll make one. As the countdown began, the comms buzzed with chatter. Pilots took their seats. Gunners ran system checks. The hum of power built to a deep roar. The Terran fleet, long silent, was awake again. From every colony and moon, people watched as the skies filled with light. Hundreds of ships aligning in perfect formation. It looked like a storm of metal angels. The order came through. All ships. Engage jump. A blinding white light swallowed them as they vanished into faster-than-light travel. Back on Helios 9, Mara's old console blinked again. The distress signal had ended. Silence returned to the void. But somewhere in that silence, deep in uncharted space, an entire fleet of humans was racing toward a world that never expected them. A world that had no idea what kind of saviors were coming. The darkness of hyperspace bent and folded like liquid glass as the Terran fleet surged through it. Every ship, from the smallest scout frigate to the towering dreadnought Leviathan, moved with silent precision. Their hulls gleamed like iron storms, covered in scars from wars most of the galaxy had forgotten. For over a century, no one had seen a human warship. Many believed Earth's fleets had been dismantled, their admirals gone, their colonies broken. But deep in hidden shipyards beneath ice moons and asteroid belts, the Terrans had rebuilt quietly, patiently, waiting for the day they might be needed again. And now, that day had come. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Admiral Reyes stood at the central command platform. The holographic map of the galaxy glowed before him, a sea of stars in danger. Around him his officers moved like clockwork, voices steady, faces calm. ETA to the Varelia system 22 minutes, said Navigator Chen. Reyes nodded. Bring all ships to combat readiness. Full shield synchronization. Let's remind the galaxy what discipline looks like. Yes, sir. As the fleet adjusted formation, Captain Mara Voss watched from her station aboard the Vanguard. She had dreamed of serving among legends, but this was more than she imagined. Her ship, an ancient heavy cruiser, hummed with renewed power. Every console vibrated faintly as the reactors reached peak output. Feels alive again, whispered her co-pilot, grin wide. Mara smiled faintly. Alive, or awake. The transition out of hyperspace was brutal. A flash of light tore across the void as the entire fleet emerged at once, hundreds of ships dropping into normal space above a dying world. The planet Varelia filled the view, its atmosphere cracked with fire. Whole continents burned. The orbital ring was shattered, pieces of metal drifting like glittering bones. Multiple contacts, cried the sensor officer. Enemy vessels detected, hundreds of them closing fast. Reyes stared at the display. Alien ships swarmed the skies. Jagged, insect-like designs with glowing blue veins. They moved in chaotic clusters driven by instinct, not order. Identify them, Reyes ordered, unknown configuration. Energy signatures match older Hive-class weaponry. No record in Council archives. Then we classify them now, Reyes said coldly. All ships. Defensive grid Theta. The alien swarm turned toward the newcomers. Their sensors scanned the massive Terran ships and hesitated. These were not traitors, not diplomats. Their armor was too thick, their engines too strong. The swarm leader sent a broadcast, an untranslatable screech filled with arrogance and threat. Reyes didn't answer. He turned to his communications officer. Transmit only this. Terran Defense Command acknowledges distress signal, engaging hostiles. And then, his voice hardened. Fire. The first volley from the Terran fleet shattered the darkness. Blue-white plasma tore across space, slicing through alien formations. Rail cannons the size of skyscrapers fired molten slugs that ripped ships in half. Drones streaked outward like silver rain, weaving through debris, striking with surgical precision. The swarm fought back. Bright streaks of energy, organic missiles, acid beams. But humanity's walls held. The Leviathan absorbed the barrage like stone against water. Shields holding at 94%, reported Chen. Maintain pressure. They'll break. Down below on the planet's surface, survivors looked up through the smoke. For days they had watched their skies burn red. Now they glowed blue with strange, unfamiliar light. The sound of thunder echoed through the clouds as burning debris fell from orbit. An old Varelian elder, half buried under rubble, stared at the strange lights and whispered, "The Sky Lords." They came back. His grandson asked weakly, "Who are they?" The elder closed his eyes. The ones the galaxy feared. Minutes turned into hours. The swarm began to collapse. Their command ships burned one by one. The sky became a graveyard of drifting wrecks. When the last enemy tried to flee, Reyes gave the order, "No survivors. They don't retreat to regroup." Ward looked at her. "So is our survival." Argus opened the hidden defense protocol. Project Aegis activating. Quantum mirrors deploying. In orbit around Mars, invisible satellites powered up, bending light and energy fields in impossible ways. The technology was humanity's most secret project, a system designed to reflect attacks using quantum-folded space. It had never been tested against a real weapon. As the Council fleet locked onto the colony, Admiral Kether raised his arm. Fire! A beam of white energy, bright as a newborn sun, lanced across space. It struck Mars and then vanished. The beam rebounded backward, bending space around it like a mirror. The light folded, twisted, and slammed directly into the Vormath's Pride. The flagship exploded into fragments, its pieces scattering across Jupiter's orbit. The blast was visible from millions of kilometers away. Every ship in the fleet went silent. On Solaris Prime, the Council chamber erupted in chaos. "What happened?" shouted one delegate. "Did they destroy our flagship?" "Impossible," another screamed. "Their technology cannot—" "It did." The Chancellor stood frozen, her eyes wide. "Humans reflected the beam?" No one answered. On Earth, Argus's voice filled the bunker. "Mirror array successful. Enemy fleet neutralized." General Ward exhaled, his shoulders trembling slightly. "They'll send more." Dr. Voss nodded. "And we'll be ready. Every colony, every ship, every human will stand together." President Lin looked at the glowing world map on the screen. "We've shown them we can fight. Now they'll come for revenge." Ward turned away, his voice calm but hard. "Then we'll make sure their revenge costs them everything." Across the galaxy, the story spread faster than the Council could suppress it. Pirates, rebels, and enslaved species began whispering the same phrase. "Did you hear what the humans said?" They said no. In distant colonies where fear ruled for centuries, the word became a symbol. Painted on walls, encoded in transmissions, whispered in the dark, no became a rebellion. Alien soldiers began to question their orders. Council governors faced silent crowds holding banners with that single human word. And deep in the Council archives, old records were re-examined, reports of human wars, human inventions, human survival against impossible odds. The more they read, the more they realized the truth. Humanity had always said no to impossible things, to extinction, to surrender, to gods, and now they had said it to the galaxy itself. In the great chamber of Solaris Prime, the Chancellor looked up at the shattered image of Earth's glowing hologram. Her golden eyes darkened. "Summon the High Fleet," she said softly. "If they want war, they shall have it." But even she knew the war had already begun. The galaxy had never been this quiet. After the destruction of Vormath's Pride, the once confident Galactic Council seemed to hold its breath. The news of Earth's impossible victory spread faster than light itself. Entire civilizations stopped to listen. Entire armadas hesitated before moving. The humans had done what no one believed possible. They had said no, and survived it. For 3 days, the Council's fleets remained motionless along the edge of the solar system. Every commander awaited new orders, terrified of being the next Vormath's Pride. On their monitors, the blue marble of Earth glowed like a silent challenge. Inside the Council chamber on Solaris Prime, tension hung like smoke. Thousands of delegates argued, shouted, and blamed each other for the disaster. "The humans possess forbidden technology," cried the Corthan representative, his mandibles clacking in fear. "No species should wield reflective quantum weapons." "They stole it from someone," another shouted. "Find the source." "They must be destroyed," roared Admiral Kethar's replacement. "Now!" The Chancellor stood at the center of the chaos, her golden eyes hard as steel. "Enough," she said quietly. Her voice carried through the entire hall. "We underestimated them once. We will not do so again." "But, Chancellor," said an advisor, If we attack too soon, the galaxy will see us as tyrants. Already rumors spread that the Council fears the humans. The Chancellor turned away. Let them talk. Fear keeps order. She looked up at the massive hologram of Earth hovering above the chamber. Prepare the fleets. Seal the outer systems. No ship enters or leaves Sol without our permission. A cold murmur ran through the chamber. The blockade of Earth had begun. On Earth, the silence was suffocating. Every telescope, every sensor, showed alien ships forming a ring around the solar system, a glittering wall of steel and fire. The people called it the Iron Halo. From orbit, the night sky looked strange. Thousands of tiny dots flickered where stars should be, the reflections of enemy ships. In the underground command center beneath the Pacific, General Ward stood before a massive holographic map of the solar system. Red dots formed a perfect circle around Earth. They've sealed us in, he said. Dr. Arya Voss adjusted her glasses, staring at the map. They're waiting for us to move first. They're scared but not stupid. President Lin folded her hands. Can we break the blockade? Not yet, Ward replied. But they can't stay there forever. Their fleets need supplies, energy, and morale. They're not used to waiting. Arya smiled faintly. Then we'll make them wait longer. Across the planet, Earth had changed. Factories worked without pause, building warships, drones, and defense satellites. Artificial intelligence networks coordinated every detail, predicting potential council maneuvers. Civilians volunteered in massive numbers, ready to do anything. Build, transport, fight. For the first time in human history, there were no borders, no countries, no politics, only Earth. The global message boards lit up with the same phrase, one world, one voice, one word. From miners on Mars to scientists on Luna, everyone knew that one word had made them legends. No. 3 weeks later, the Council fleet sent a small probe toward Earth's orbit. It broadcast a message as it drifted closer. Humans, the Council offers mercy. Surrender now and your species will be spared. The probe exploded before it reached the moon. Every alien officer watching the feed froze. On their screens appeared a simple message in perfect galactic common. We heard you the first time. Even the most loyal Council admirals felt something cold run down their spines. Inside the blockade, strange things began to happen. Council ships started losing power at random. Communications cut out. Supply drones vanished mid-flight. Some captains reported ghost signals, phantom fleets that appeared and disappeared from radar. Rumors spread like wildfire. The humans are using shadow tech, whispered one pilot. They can hide entire fleets. Nonsense, another snapped. Their system is primitive. But deep down, none of them believed their own words. What they didn't know was that Argus, Earth's defense AI, had begun spreading invisible digital warfare, infiltrating the Council's fleet systems through microscopic data leaks and communication signals. It was slow, silent, and deadly. Within a week, a dozen Council ships were floating dead in space, their systems fried. The Council blamed sabotage. The humans never claimed responsibility. They didn't need to. Meanwhile, in a hidden base beneath Antarctica, a secret project neared completion, the Leviathan Protocol. Rows of scientists and engineers worked around the clock. Inside a colossal hangar buried beneath the ice, rested something that looked nothing like a human ship. A vast, black vessel with wings folded like blades and an engine that hummed like thunder. General Ward entered the chamber and looked up at it. She's ready? Dr. Voss nodded. Almost. Argus calls it the voice. The voice? Ward repeated. Yes, she said softly. Because when it speaks, the galaxy will listen. It wasn't a warship in the traditional sense. It was a message. A moving beacon capable of broadcasting across thousands of light years using folded quantum waves. Humanity's plan was simple. Not to destroy, but to be heard by every world enslaved under the Council. Ward turned to Arya. Launch it when ready. Let them know humanity doesn't fight for conquest. We fight for freedom. The next day, the galaxy woke to a signal unlike any other. Every Council communication system flickered. Every screen, every hologram, every device lit up with a transmission from Earth. A human voice spoke, calm, strong, and defiant. We are the people of Earth. We are not your subjects. We are not your slaves. You have ruled with fear. We answer with hope. You took 1,000 worlds, but you will never take us. The voice paused. Then the final line, your silence will be our victory. The transmission ended. The Council fleets panicked. They tried to block the signal, but it was too late. The message had spread to every corner of the galaxy. On distant worlds, slaves whispered the words. On prison moons, captives looked up at the stars with new eyes. The Chancellor stood in her chamber, trembling with rage. Destroy them, she hissed. Burn the earth to ash if you must, but silence them. But it was too late for silence. The humans had already spoken, and now even the stars seemed to echo their defiance. On Earth, people gathered outside watching the night sky. The iron halo still shone above, but it no longer felt like a cage. It felt like the calm before the Council's fleets began their advance on the 4th day. The iron halo that had once remained silent now blazed with the heat of thousands of engines. The stars around Earth shimmered with movement as dreadnoughts and cruisers shifted into attack formation. From Earth's surface, the sky looked normal, but every observatory knew what was coming. Humanity had 7 hours before the first bombardment began. In the Pacific Command bunker, General Ward stood before the war table. The entire room pulsed red with alert lights. This is it, he said. The Council is moving. Every ship, every base, every station must hold position. No one retreats, Dr. Arya Voss's voice was calm but tight. Argus is already activating all planetary defenses. Mirror grids are charged. Orbital cannons aligned. President Lin's face appeared on the main screen. You understand what's at stake, General. If we fail, there will be no Earth left to rebuild. Ward nodded. We won't fail. We didn't come this far to die kneeling. Above the atmosphere, human fleets took formation for the first time under a single flag. The flag of Earth. Ships from 100 nations now bore the same emblem. A silver Earth encircled by a blazing sun. The Leviathan fleet, humanity's last line of defense, assembled in high orbit. Massive carriers, smaller strike frigates, and autonomous drones moved as one. At the center of it all was the Voice, Earth's mysterious black vessel, the ship that had sent the defiant transmission to the galaxy. Its dark hull shimmered faintly, bending light as if reality itself disliked being near it. Inside the Voice, Dr. Voss monitored a glowing sphere suspended in midair, Argus's core projection. How much time until their vanguard reaches us? She asked. 6 hours, 14 minutes, said Argus. Shall I initiate the Leviathan protocol? Not yet, she replied. Wait until they're close enough to see our face. Argus paused. You sound confident, Arya smiled faintly. Not confidence. Just human stubbornness. Meanwhile, at the edge of the solar system, the Council's high fleet moved through the void like a storm front. Millions of drones and warships aligned under the command of Grand Admiral Talvek, the most feared strategist in the galaxy. Talvek watched the tactical hologram with cold eyes. They think their small tricks will save them, he said. Reflective weapons, hidden satellites, fear propaganda, but they are still human. Fragile creatures hiding behind illusions. His second-in-command, a scaled officer named Varkun, spoke carefully. And yet Admiral, illusions have destroyed our fleets before, Talvek glared. Not this time. He turned toward the screen showing Earth in the distance, a blue spark in a sea of black. Bring me their silence. Hours passed. Humanity waited. The people of Earth watched from rooftops, beaches, and bunkers. Families held hands, soldiers stood ready. For the first time in centuries, there was no division, only unity. Children painted no on the walls of shelters. Miners on Mars sent messages to their families back home. The entire species prepared for the unknown. Then, the first Council transmission arrived. People of Earth, the alien voice echoed across every frequency. You have been judged. Prepare to be cleansed. Moments later, thousands of beams of white light erupted from the high fleet. The sky above Earth turned into fire, but the beams never reached the ground. High above the atmosphere, the mirror grid ignited, billions of satellites weaving an invisible web across the planet. Each laser that struck it bent, twisted, and reversed its path. The sky shimmered with reflected light as beams tore back toward the Council fleet. The first wave of enemy ships exploded instantly. Others scattered, firing blindly. Argus's voice echoed across every human comm channel. Defense systems holding. Estimated enemy loss 18%, General Ward's voice followed. Push them back. Let them see what defiance looks like. Human ships launched their counterstrike. Swarms of small, fast drones darted between Council battleships carrying EMP pulses and plasma warheads. The void turned into chaos, a storm of fire and broken metal. Admiral Talvek shouted over his command bridge alarms. "Counter their mirrors! Disable their satellites!" "Impossible, Admiral," cried an officer. "Their networks are self-replicating. Every destroyed unit spawns 3 more. Talvek snarled. "Then burn the planet itself." The fleet's primary weapon, the Starbreaker, charged to full power. It was designed to vaporize moons. The beam fired straight toward Earth. On the voice, Argus detected the surge instantly. "Incoming Starbreaker pulse. Impact in 30 seconds. Arya didn't panic. Activate the Leviathan." The entire ship began to hum. Energy surged through its black hull, forming ripples of dark light. Argus's voice deepened. "Protocol Leviathan engaged." A massive distortion wave expanded from the voice, bending reality itself. When the Starbreaker beam reached it, the light fractured into a million threads, each twisting back through space. The explosion consumed half the Council's front line. Silence followed. Not a tactical silence, a fearful one. Even Admiral Talvek, a veteran of 1,000 wars, could not speak. "Report," he whispered. "Over 300 ships lost," said his officer. "Our main weapon has collapsed." Talvek's jaw trembled. What did they build?" Across the galaxy, the transmission of the battle spread again, recorded by alien observers and leaked into hidden networks. Billions of beings saw Earth, small and fragile, standing against a storm that had crushed empires for ages. They saw humans fight not for conquest, but for freedom. On distant worlds, slaves rose in defiance. They painted a single word on the walls of a message appeared on every hidden channel in every known language. A human voice spoke. "They call us dangerous." They are right. Dangerous to their power, dangerous to their lies. They call us monsters because we fight for what they fear. Freedom. The voice paused. Then continued. "We don't ask you to fight for us. Fight for yourselves. You don't need permission. You just need a word." And then, like a spark on dry grass, the signal spread. World after world repeated it. One word glowing on millions of screens, "No." The Chancellor saw the message spread. She slammed her clawed hand onto her throne's console, shattering it. "How are they broadcasting through our secured channels?" An aide trembled. "Unknown, Chancellor. The signal changes frequency constantly. It uses human patterns." "Then find them," she screamed. "Shut them down." But they couldn't. Argus had infected every relay, every transmitter, every screen that once belonged to the Council. Humanity's message was everywhere, even in the Chancellor's own palace. In the deep void between stars, the rebellion was no longer just human. The Terran slaves of the 5th Sector revolted, seizing their masters' ships and broadcasting human slogans. The Dravik miners refused to send their crystal tribute to the Council. The silent worlds of the Outer Rim began to glow with coded signals, all repeating the same rhythm. One beat. One pause. One word. No inside the voice drifting beyond Saturn. Dr. Voss and General Ward watched the reports. Entire systems had cut ties with the Council. "It's happening," Voss whispered. "The galaxy is waking up," Ward nodded slowly. "They started a war of words. Now they can drown in it." Argus's holographic form flickered to life. Multiple rebellions detected across 7 sectors. The Council's control grid is collapsing. Ward allowed himself a rare smile. Then it's time to finish what they started. But victory was not guaranteed. As rebellion spread, chaos grew. Pirates used the confusion to plunder colonies. Old rivalries reignited. The galaxy teetered between liberation and anarchy. President Lin appeared on the main screen. Her expression was tired but resolute. "If we let this chaos consume them, the Council will return as the savior. We must show them another way." Dr. Voss nodded. "Then we send them something bigger than rebellion. We send them hope." Argus began building a new broadcast, not a signal of defiance, but one of unity. Across the stars, the transmission started again, echoing from every captured Council channel. "We are the children of Earth. We once fought each other, but we learned. We once feared the unknown, but we dared. We once were slaves to fear, but now we are free. And so can you be." 1,000 alien species watched in silence. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as conquerors, but as mirrors, a reflection of what they could become. The Chancellor watched the message play across her screens. Her hand trembled as she whispered to herself, "They're not just fighting us. They're changing everything." Her aide turned. "Chancellor, what are your orders?" She stared at the hologram of Earth, its blue glow shimmering in her golden eyes. "If words are their weapon," she said quietly, "then let us answer with fire." Her gaze hardened. "Prepare the Judgment Fleet." And across the galaxy a shadow began to move. Millions of warships, ancient and terrible, forming into a storm that would decide the fate of all life. The war of words was over. Now came the war of fire. The stars themselves seemed to tremble when the Judgment Fleet began its march. It wasn't an army. It was a storm of metal and fury stretching from one end of the void to the other. Millions of ships older than most civilizations emerged from deep space vaults. These were the Council's ancient war relics, vessels from the forgotten wars that built their empire. Each one could level a world. Together, they could erase a species. The Chancellor stood aboard her flagship, Eternal Dominion, a fortress the size of a moon. Her voice echoed across every command channel in the fleet. "No more hesitation. No more negotiation. Humanity will not be remembered. Only their ashes will speak." And so the fleet began to move, not slowly, not cautiously, but with a cold certainty. The galaxy fell silent as their engines ignited, lighting the dark like a sunrise of death. On Earth, the alarms rang again. Every radar, every deep space sensor screamed warnings as the Judgment Fleet appeared from folded space beyond Neptune. General Ward looked at the holographic display in disbelief. "It's larger than anything we've ever faced." Dr. Voss stared at the endless wave of red signals. "They're committing everything. Every world, every weapon, every commander.